Ja, ich habe schon gecheckt, es kommt noch nicht regnen. Run, come on! Anyway, I think we're gonna continue setting up the gimbal in this car. What's going on, my lovely viewers? Today we're going to talk about the Hohem iSteady MT2, which is this gimbal right here. Now, in a recent video, I talked about the Hohem iSteady M6, which is a compact smartphone gimbal. And as you can see, they look quite identical. But the main difference is that this gimbal, the MT2, has a heavier payload capacity. And this is a 4-in-1 compact lightweight gimbal. So not only can you use this with a smartphone or with your action camera, but you can also use it with compact cameras and mirrorless cameras, which is really great for hybrid shooters. And I want to thank Hohem for sponsoring this video and sending me over this gimbal, which I'm quite excited to showcase to you guys. And I'll be talking about some of its awesome features and also explain who this gimbal is for. So with that said, let's get started. What's really cool is that you get this awesome case by Hohem, which you can easily bring along on your travels, and you have all the necessary tools to get started. Hohem also provides different control and charging cables that you can use with your camera. And then we have these 3 mounting options over here. So we have the L bracket to mount your mirrorless or compact camera. Then you have the smartphone mount, which is really great. And if you want to attach a GoPro to the gimbal, you also get this action camera mount. So this is how the gimbal looks like. Pretty badass. I really like the color scheme of it. The black and orange design makes it really look aesthetic and professional. And the gimbal is also pretty lightweight, weighing at around 653 grams. And you can also unmount the bottom part, which makes it even smaller and easy to bring along. I also really like the hand grip, which is ergonomically well designed, as I can also use both hands, including the tripod, to better support the gimbal. Also at the front, we have an OLED display, which shows you all the basic informations that you need, such as battery life, current gimbal mode you're in. Then of course you have the record button and the mode button, as well as a joystick. Then here to the side, you have a motion time-lapse function, which we will look at later. You also have this wheel to the side, which controls the focus and allows you to switch by pressing the button to switch to roll mode. And this gives you precise control over the roll axis when using it. Now, one of the biggest highlights is the magnetic AI tracker, which you can see right here, which you can easily detach and attach to the gimbal. And I will talk more about it later. What I really like is that Hohem included these locks, which you can lock each motor. This way the parts won't move around. With every gimbal, you have a trigger button, and you also have different 1/4 screw holes. Over here, you have the charging port and the power on off button. Then on top, you have the Type-C reverse charging port and the Type-C camera control port, which allows you to use the record button as well as the zoom with your mirrorless camera. So if you film under ideal conditions, the battery life of this gimbal will last you up to 17 hours. So it finally stopped raining. Run, come on! And I'm happy we can continue our video. And this time I'm going to show you how I mount my Sony a7S III with the 16-35 f4mm lens to this gimbal. And the max payload of the gimbal is 1.2 kilograms, so it should be able to handle this camera. So I'm going to show you the process of how I balance it. It's fairly easily. And the great part is you can set it up in landscape mode or vertical mode, depending on which platform you want to upload your video to. So I'm first gonna use this Arca Swiss plate and mount it at the bottom of the camera. And what's also great is that on the L bracket itself, you get this magnetic tool that you can use to tighten the screw. And the next thing I'm gonna do is mount the L bracket. So I can simply slide this part in, and then I'm gonna slide in the camera. And now I can start with the balancing process. And the goal is that the camera doesn't tip on either side. And you also wanna make sure that you're on a fairly even surface when you balance your camera. So it tips a little bit to the back. So I'm gonna push this to the front. But you can now see that the camera is fairly balanced. I can now press the power button here on the side, and booyah, I'm ready to go. Now, if you plan on shooting vertical videos for your Instagram or TikTok, you can easily reposition the camera by sliding the L bracket out and then simply inserting this part inside just like that. Do a little bit of balancing. You can see that it responds really well. And I can also use the flip out screen on the back, which is really cool. This way I can see what I'm shooting. Also, I can use it in combination with the AI to track myself, which we will get into right now. So the way how to activate the tracking feature is you first have to turn on the sensor, and then you can simply use hand gestures to activate it. And you can see it starts to track me. So for solo content creators who, want to add camera movement to their video, this AI tracking feature is really useful. And you can see that it does a great job at tracking me and adds a lot of dynamic to my videos. If I want to reframe myself, I can do the hand gesture, reposition myself, do it again. And you can see that it saves my position. And if I want to stop the tracking, I just can hold my fingers and it will stop it. So the AI sensor not only functions as a tracker, but also can be used as a fill light. So when I hold on this button over here, you can see it turns the light on. And this is great if you're filming in a dark lit environment. And by turning the wheel, I can adjust the intensity of the light. And by triple pressing on the wheel, you will see that it will change to RGB mode. And by turning the wheel, I can change the color, and it has 360 degree of color spectrum, which is great for creative use. So now I've also mounted my iPhone 14 Pro on the MT2. As you can see, it works perfectly. The great part is if you're someone who shoots professionally on a smartphone and also uses, a rig maybe and some lenses or a microphone, then this gimbal will handle it pretty well. And it also uses the Arca Swiss place, making it a really great way to switch between cameras. What's great is that you have these tripod legs over here that allows me to place the gimbal on a flat surface. And with the time-lapse feature, I'm able to create a moving time-lapse by using the A and B buttons over here. I'm gonna set the A position first. I'm gonna use the joystick to position the camera. I'm gonna set this as my A point by holding on the A. And now I'm gonna simply set my B position and set this as my B position. And then once I'm happy, I'm gonna double tap on the A, press record, and it will now start the motion time lapse. So overall, I'm quite satisfied with the Hohem iSteady MT2. I think it's a fantastic gimbal for those who want to create smooth, stable footage, either with their mirrorless camera or their smartphone or action camera, as it's a 4-in-1 gimbal. I think what makes this gimbal stand out from the other is the AI tracking feature, where you're able to track yourself accurately without having to use an app or a Bluetooth connection. And also the motion time-lapse feature, which I think is also really awesome, where you don't need an app again and can just use the buttons on the side to set your A and B position. I think this gimbal is great for content creators who film with different cameras like I do. I film on a smartphone, but I also sometimes film on the Sony a7S III. I think it's great for those who need the tracking feature for live streaming or to, film themselves, or even when you need to produce vertical videos for TikTok, for example. You also have the ability to switch the position of the camera. So yeah, because of all of these features, I think it's really a great gimbal to have and add it to your inventory to really step up your filmmaking game. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment. Now, by the way, if you guys are interested, I do have an online course where I teach everything on how to produce quality and professional content with your smartphone. Make sure to check out the link in the video description below. That's all for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys the next time.